Now, in this video, I'd like to address some more specific problem, and especially for 3D artists who maybe feel creatively stuck, and especially the ones who know that they should be progressing faster, but can't seem the way or can't really find a way to move past a certain level. And just to give you some context here, most people who reach out to me are in their mid-career. So they're not really beginners. They move past that beginner stage. They do have skills and they do know how to use their tools, but at the same time, they feel that they've hit some form of a creative plateau. So they notice that something there is missing and they're not sure how to turn their either hobby or their interest into a professional career, or how to actually make people just take their work seriously enough. And the thing is, they are also capable of developing being-in concepts in ZBrush or just using box cutter with Blender or hard ups, doesn't really matter. While they do go far and while they do create cool stuff, they eventually notice that something here is missing in their designs, or that they still have some sort of gaps in their workflow. And this is now where that issue is. And that is the first problem, or the first issue, that no tool, no plugin or software can actually solve. And what is here also interesting is that every time I post a time-lapse or some form of a topic related to fundamental challenges that people face in subdivision modeling or poly modeling, doesn't really matter, I get kind of like the similar replies that are kind of like in line with this. Like, why do you even bother? Just kind of like use this other thing instead. Just use CAD, use ZBrush, use box cutter. So just skip the hard thing. So it sort of feels like an ironic full circle, like skip the fundamentals to save time and eventually lose more time coming back to learn what you skipped because you just thought it was hard. And in all of these cases, I would say that one core point is missing. So are you really limiting your expression by conveniences of the tools? Or are you prioritizing your creative expression using the tool, any tool, to get you there? Because both serve different goals and both serve different futures in the end. And for me, again, personal here, Topology, SubD, and ZBrush, they were all challenging. Like, I struggled with all of them the same, but I needed also all of them to do what I wanted to do. I did not skip one just because I felt it was hard, so I did not bother with that hard and just chose another direction because, yeah, otherwise I might struggle a lot. So in a sense, my own personal why bother, quote unquote, had a purpose to bother, if that makes sense. Because here's the thing, skipping fundamental understanding just means outsourcing the very thing that makes an efficient artist able to do and express every single idea they have. And again, just to give you an example here, let's say that with strong anatomy fundamentals, you can make and repurpose any character or shape you want without any tool restrictions. That simply means that you're not tied to, let's say, a character creator to create your characters. You don't rely on character creator to create the characters you want. So if you let the tool or software shape your creativity, your design style will change every single time that the software changes too. So you will bend, or you will actually blend in with everyone who decided to go with that same route. And yeah, eventually it will become very hard to build any sort of professional 3D work on avoiding hard things, quote unquote, mindset here. And I also heard a lot of people say to me, and this is also after kind of like they struggled for a couple of months, I would get the message something in line with, I'm going to try ZBrush, or I'm going to try CAD, or I'm going to try something else because poly modeling or subdivision or edge flow, it's just way too hard. And I just feel that they have more control. And then what I found even more interesting is that they would come, being it months later or years later, realizing it's not really easier, it's just differently challenging. And I know this too because I've spent 6 months developing my own ZBrush workflow. So I did not do anything else. I just took 6 months off and I just wanted to create a ZBrush workflow that works for me. So I know that it's not easier, it's just differently challenging. And what I also found interesting that I would understand from a personal perspective, if people were coming to me or sharing a tips and sort of like saying, hey dude, you know what, I see you're struggling with subdivision, or I see you struggling with poly modeling. So if you're not aware, this option here, like CAD or whatever, is easier. So if you want to do the same thing, you can just kind of like try that first. I would kind of get that. But the thing is, I already use them all as a part of my workflow. So I already use CAD, I already use ZBrush, and I already use Maya, and all of them serve their purpose in my workflow. So it's not that one is better than the other. And here's another thing. In the end, the work you do is still a service, and I cannot emphasize that enough. So the work itself, it's still a service. So if that service is built on shortcuts, obviously it won't last long, because people don't really work or collaborate or hire people who are reliant on shortcuts in their workflow. They work with efficiency, and they're interested in efficiency in the end. And reason for that is that the body of work that it's built and reliant on shortcuts only reflects that mindset, because shortcuts are not really the same as efficiency, because shortcuts eventually avoid complex tasks. You're just looking to avoid something that has to be done and looking for an easier way out, while efficiency workflow is actually simplifying any challenges you encountered along the way. So shortcuts avoid complex tasks, while efficiency workflow simplify the challenging ones. And people who look at your work, they don't really look at your work alone. They also examine the type, they examine the type of thought that produces the work you do and the reasoning you use to execute your tasks. And if you want to look this even closely, you can just look at the people invited to podcasts or any form of speaking events, let's say. They were not invited, or they're not there to showcase their renders alone. And all the audience and everybody who has questions, they want to hear their thinking, and they want to understand the efforts they're made to make their work stand out. And also what it's interesting here is that there are going to be still a lot of people who are going to try and replicate the renders alone, believing that the renders is what inherently gave them that attention and not really the reasoning that actually brought those renders to success. So if you look for, let's say, tools to replace that necessary foundational thinking, or if you're using the tools to outsource that foundational thinking, you will actually get exactly what you're looking for. Because in the end, AI can also create, let's say, automotive designs, and without understanding what makes a good design, or even better, what makes a good automotive design, you cannot really evaluate accuracy, or you cannot really be sure what are you looking at, because AI can even write content for me, for example, but without me being able to verify if that message is sound or does it make sense, what am I actually then providing here? Like, I'm not here then even necessary, because when the time comes for you to present your work, I would say that the presentation will also reflect the thought process behind it, not just the work itself. And you can also see this in artists you admire the most, because the artists you admire, you don't admire them because they are proficient in ZBrush or CAD, or they're not really successful because ZBrush made them successful. In reality, what made them successful is their reasoning, their mental stamina to overcome long projects, their determination, and I would say most importantly, they had a clarity of direction, and every effort that they did was just compounding in that direction, if that makes sense. The software they use, or the software of their choice, is only an instrument of their expression. It's not a replacement for an expression they wanted to skip because it was maybe hard at the very beginning. And what I'm trying to say here is this: art is not just a cool looking image. It's actually also an evidence of the challenges you overcame, shown as a visual expression of your thoughts. And that means that all those topology struggles, all those, let's say, design revisions, and all that uncomfortable middle that it's maybe looking hard, all that becomes ingrained in the final piece as the evidence of your strength as an artist. Because I would say that the difference between artists who turn professional and artists who stay stuck at that mid-career point isn't even the talent itself. It's just about choosing the hard thing on purpose and making it effortless, because the impact of the results you want to achieve is just, that weight that it's actually worth carrying. So this is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to see you next time.